This is it. This is where everything all concludes. Where we truly bring together what we've talked about. Enough with the preamble at this point. Let's just get started. Hello. At this point, I should make something clear. Part 1 and Part 2 can easily be considered their own theories, and Parts 3 and 4 are more so theories on those theories. I'm obviously more confident about Parts 1 and 2, and I easily see the problems with trying to connect this theory to Snowpiercer, but the ideas are there and I'd at least like to get them out. But yes, the biggest problem with the theory is how exactly Snowpiercer and the Polar Express connect. Because the Polar Express is a film that has the general population live normally. However, if the children are the ones being given these animated lenses to where they are seeing this, they wouldn't know anything about the real world since they grew up on the train. So is it possible this animated fantasy isn't actually for the children? How? Everything we've building towards was that this was all for the children. Well, like I said, Parts 1 and 2 can easily be separated from Parts 3 and 4. And the idea of an adult being given this fantasy makes sense. They would know about the outside world beyond the train that the children wouldn't know about. But why would they be a child in that fantasy? And we don't see anyone actively act out in a way where we can easily say, hey, they're in an animated fantasy or are acting strange. And outside of the higher-ups who clearly work very closely with Wilfred, we don't see any of the adults talk too much good about Wilfred Industries. Well, there's a way this can make sense. It might be one of the worst kind of theories, but I promise to try and make it better. What I'm saying is that the Polar Express is a lucid dream with external influence. What the hell is that? It's no coincidence that this dream is all about belief, because I think Wilfred Industries is making a specific individual dream this dream so they become more vulnerable to them. This explains why we don't see anyone act out in a weird way, because it's all happening while they are asleep. But is there any full-blown proof of the movie being a dream? Well, throughout the movie, Hero Boy constantly questions if the whole thing is a dream or not, and he never gets a full-blown answer. But you know what he gets a lot of? Hammered-in messages. And like I said, you can easily make these theories completely separate from one another. I don't exactly consider them integral to one another anymore. And like I said, this is more so a theory on my theory, because the idea of this being a dream clearly contradicts what Part 1 and 2 are all about. But just bear with me. So Wilfred Industries is making whoever Hero Boy is dream the Polar Express to better indoctrinate him into the Wilfred cult. Or Wilfred Industries, they're essentially a cult. Through more subtle means. Well, by subtle, I mean not referring to Wilfred Industries as Wilfred Industries and replacing everything with Christmas stuff. Well, this is all fine and dandy, but there's 3 questions. Who is Hero Boy? Why is he a child in the dream but most likely an adult in real life? And why the Christmas theme? Well, before we get to all that, there's something I'd like to share with you. When watching the Polar Express again, sometime after Snowpiercer, something felt off. It was during the scene where Santa shows up. Something about his design felt off, and for a bit I couldn't figure out why. Then it hit me. Here is Santa, here is Wilfred. Compare the two of them. Am I crazy, or do they look shockingly similar? Their noses, eye color, mouths? Okay, this has to be the case. Wilford is making Hero Boy dream this dream to better hammer in the message in the better hammer in the message of belief without tying it directly to him. He makes himself Santa so Hero Boy can connect the dots and associate him with Santa. But trust me, that's not all I got. In Snowpiercer, Gilliam is revealed to have secretly worked with Wilford so that Curtis could help regulate the number of tail passengers and replace Wilford. And look at the conductor in the Polar Express, who is an assistant to Santa's plans, much like Gilliam, and the two look pretty damn similar. And then there's something I've always thought of, but didn't know how the hell it fit into the theory. And it's something I actually hinted at in my previous thumbnail. Hero Boy looks like a younger version of Curtis. Alright, so how does any of this make sense? Well, we know Wilford wanted Curtis to take his place and was using him in the movie, and weirdly enough, Curtis was almost ready to accept the role, perhaps meaning Curtis was somewhat convinced beforehand? In terms of Snowpiercer, I think in terms of Snowpiercer, the Polar Express was a dream made by Wilford Industries to both subtly and not subtly get the message across and instill the idea of Wilford Industries being good into Curtis's mind, all the while self-inserting Gilliam and Wilford as both the conductor and Santa. And it's far beyond that, because doesn't the dream seem to resemble a comfy cozy vibe that obviously the train is lacking? I think Wilford brought out memories of Christmases past so that Curtis can be manipulated with his nostalgia and longingness for this nightmare to end, because nostalgia can be used as means of manipulation. And it does explain why the film appears to be set in the 20th century despite Snowpiercer taking place in 2023. So, we now know Hero Boy's actual name, Curtis, and we know why they went with the Christmas theme. It's because of the nostalgic memories tied to it. And more importantly, we also figured out why Hero Boy is a child, despite Curtis being an adult. It's because it's a flashback, essentially. So, in conclusion, the Polar Express is a lucid dream with external influence in Snowpiercer. Wilford is using nostalgic memories of Christmases past to manipulate Curtis Everett into seeing the good in Wilford Industries so he can be the successor. Santa is Wilford, Hero Boy is Curtis, and the conductor is Gilliam. Now I know this idea is flawed and there isn't as much evidence to back it up like parts 1 and 2, but I figured I'd at least try and refine part 3 so it's somewhat cleaner. And like I said, you can ignore this half of the theory and still have a really good theory. But maybe I'm underestimating myself or whatever. What did you guys think? Could Snowpiercer actually be connected to the Polar Express, or am I crazy? Anyways, in terms of future projects, I'm thinking of maybe working on theories for Project Eden's Garden, the 2003 Cat in the Hat movie, and a part 3 on Total Drama. And I'm currently rewatching all the Spy Kids movies, and I finished the first one while taking notes. And trust me, the first film alone has some interesting details to make a theory on. So get ready for whenever those do come out. Anyways, have a lovely day, and until next time. Also, YouTube Shadow goes to Switchy.